is Tuesday, August 26th. The time is 6:02 p.m. And we are convened as the Provo City School Board of Education, meeting at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah. We'll begin with a roll call, starting with Devin.
Devin Daly, Business Administrator.
Lisa Boyce, Board Member.
Erin McCabe, Board Member.
Gina Hales, Board Vice President.
Jennifer Partridge, Board President.
Wendy Dow, Superintendent.
Meg Van Wagenen, Board Member.
Emily Harrison, Board Member.
Melanie Hall, Board Member.
Bailey Lindstrom, Student Board Member.
Rachel Rue, Student Board Member.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to start our business meeting?
I move that we start our business meeting.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in our business meeting, and we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Assistant Superintendent Jared Seitz.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is our community connections, where we have the opportunity for public input. Seeing none, though, I will go ahead and close that portion of the meeting, and we will move on to our next item. But before we get to what's on our agenda of our business items, we did not finish our policy review from the study session. So we are going to jump back to that, and I will turn it over to Wendy.
So we have policy 1001. This is a second reading. This just basically required us to incorporate a definition of body corporate, and this was the language that comes out of state code. Also notice on lines 26 and 27 that once a Board of Education moves to a specific number of individuals, it can't go back down. So even if our enrollment were to drop below 10,000 students, we would still have 7 members. And then it just gives the outline of how it moves to a 9-member board, and then striking out lines 40 to 41 because those are replaced basically by lines 26 to 27. Are there any questions on policy 1001? Okay,
So exciting.
go ahead.
Oh, I said it was so exciting.
Oh, so excited. I thought Gina had a question. Oh, she's so excited.
I was like, she has a question.
She was so excited about 7 board members. I don't know. I mean, I think that's pretty exciting, but okay. Policy number 1008. We just needed to add 2 things to this particular policy. Well, actually, there are 3 changes to it. Line 17, that board members take and sign the constitutional oath of office. And lines 21 to 22, that signed oath is filed with the business administrator. And then down on line 25, instead of it just being called a conflict of interest, we did reference that particular policy, but it states that as a member of the Board of Education, you can't be an employee of the district. Any questions on that one?
No. Sounds great. Okay. Wendy, you skipped 1005.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can talk about that one. It only updated one word. And it changed policies to rules, and we reordered the duties of the board because we didn't like that all of the negative things were listed first and the positive things were listed last. So we put the things that we care about towards the beginning and the things that sounded more negative towards the end. Awesome. Any questions on that one? Thank you. All right. Well, now I don't have to do 1008. Now we're going to do policy 1110 and accompanying procedure 1. This is about student board members. In the law, it basically states how you create those student board member positions. So we changed the language in policy committee to try to make this more clear on lines 26 and 27 to actually say the creation of student board member positions. And then you'll notice on line 32 under number 1, it says the requirements for the petition we added to create student board member positions. And then that's what has to happen with the petition part. If qualified, we added this piece 37 and 38, lines 37 and 38, because we wondered what would happen if for some reason we didn't have student board members for a little bit. So if qualified student board member candidates do not apply and the position remains vacant for more than 2 years, the petition process for creating student board positions would have to be followed to ensure student interest in this position. State statute then also has lines 42 through 51 specific member duties, their term of office, that they have the right to participate in open board meetings. By the way, you guys get entitlement to expense allowances. We can talk about that later. I found out shoes don't count, so don't use that. But and then you are not responsible for any acts of the board. You can't be sued. So you're welcome. And then the procedure, the only change that we made was on line 130 of the procedure that we had originally stated that the decision and public announcement of student officers would be made by April 1st. We just put as soon as possible, but no later than the beginning of the school year. Any questions on this policy or procedure?
I just want to say thank you. I think the committee did a great job of taking the feedback we gave at the last meeting and clarifying what that was about the creation of the student board
Yeah,
member
it was
positions.
confusing.
That looks great.
And then policy 1100, lines 21 through 24. Basically, we had originally put in that the deadline was based on the state legislature, and now they made us put in the actual language of the filing being in January. And then on line 47, we changed the language back from local to reapportioned so that it matches line 43, and it just made more sense. It seemed silly that it was going from one word to a different word. I don't know why that happened. So we made those adjustments based on the recommendations from the board. Any questions on that one?
I just want to give a comment to the public watching. This declaration of candidacy starting January 2nd. I think we can all agree that that's kind of ridiculous. At least I feel that way. I think people in the public feel that way. We've mentioned it to some of our legislators, and they don't know that there's a will to change that. So if you feel strongly about that, help us communicate that and get that changed. It's a long election year.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
That was it. Okay. Let's move on to item 4, our business items, the items we are going to vote on tonight. And so we're going to start with our LEA specific licenses, and we'll have Deputy Superintendent Jason Cox come up and give a quick summary. We also did talk about all of these things we're about to vote on were discussed earlier at our study session. So members of the public, if you want more detail on our discussion, you can find that. Go back and watch that on our YouTube. So.
Good evening. So I have the opportunity tonight to talk to you for a minute about LEA-specific licenses. So when we hire new employees each year, or if someone is switching internally from one position to another and they may not currently be certified in that area, but they're working towards it, we can apply for what is called an LEA-specific license for that person for this year so that they meet all the qualifications for the state to be able to be in that position and teaching for us in that position this year. So we have a list of those people here. Many of those people could have already, and many of them have, submitted information to the state to have the right license in place, but the timing just hasn't worked out now that the state expects the approval by September 1st. It's a quick turnaround for them and for us, so we have a few people who haven't quite gotten that approval yet.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. Do we have a motion on this agenda item?
I move that we approve the LEA-specific licenses as discussed in study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Hall. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to say I'm excited for this K through 12 teaching as a profession, and my sophomore is taking that class right now. So
Awesome. That's awesome.
Awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And next, we will look at a consideration to approve a large purchase request for the boiler, and we'll let Devin take that.
This is to replace the 2 boilers currently at Centennial with 4. It will help increase the efficiency. The smaller boilers have a better record, and this will replace those to help with the school. And it's an aging boiler. There are issues with it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the large purchase request in the amount of $226,655.70 for the Centennial Middle School boilers replacements.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next, we have another large purchase request for window safety glazing, and we'll let Devin explain that one.
This is just a continuation of the project that we started last year with all the exterior and interior windows. The state created additional guidelines for the interior windows and instructional areas that need to be a little bit of a stronger consistency on the windows. So this will be to get Provo High up to the standard that the state has set.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the large purchase request in the amount of $125,439.60 for interior window safety glaze.
Okay, motion made by Board Member McCabe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion on the motion?
I guess I just want to ask the clarifying question. All of these upgrades to comply with the state law and to make sure everything's safe are being paid for out of fund balance or out of grant money?
So this is the remainder of our safety grant that we were awarded from the state last year to do the windows throughout the district. So the remainder had to be spent on window glaze at only the schools that were listed in the grant. The state would not let us change that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And now we will start to look at our policies. Do we want to summarize again? No. Okay. Okay, item D, consideration to approve policy 5280, disciplinary action, orderly termination, suspension, and non-renewal. And if you have any questions what that's all about, go back and watch our study session because Wendy did a great job explaining it in much detail. So do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 5280, disciplinary action, orderly termination, suspension, and non-renewal as discussed in open board meeting tonight.
All right, motion made by Board Member Harrison. Sorry, my mind went blank for a second. Board Member Harrison, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Hall. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Item E is consideration to approve policy 3325, which is equal educational opportunities, which basically means what the title suggests. It means that we give everyone equal opportunity, non-discrimination, right? So do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 3325, equal educational opportunities as discussed in study session.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we'll move to item F, which is consideration to approve policy 3360, district notification of juvenile or student offenders. And this is just updating our policy with some new state law. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 3360, district notification of juvenile student offenders as discussed in open board meetings tonight.
Motion made by Vice President Hales. Do we have a second?
Second.
Sorry, who's that?
That was me.
Okay. Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And now we are at item G, consideration to approve policy 7055, conduct on school premises. And this is from our community section. So this specifically addresses the conduct of anyone on our campuses, including our visitors and guests. So do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve revised policy 7055, conduct on school premises as discussed in open board meetings tonight.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. I was thinking about this policy and just wondering how we communicate this to our community members, right?
Great question. So an email is going to go out to all of in particular, this deals mostly with athletic situations, right? And it probably should go to everyone, but we're going to start with an email out to our Timpview and Provo community members, and this policy will be cited in terms of there's a section in that email about parent conduct, parent and visitor conduct.
And is there when people are updating Power School or registering for schools, remind me, is there a place where a parent, for example, is kind of connected to policies related to students and families?
Yes.
There was
Okay.
this year.
And
Yeah, there was
will
this
be
year,
one-
but this is
Right.
not required to be one of them because there's like 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be.
Yeah, they were there this year when I
Yeah.
did my power.
Great.
They were all, it was
Right.
great. The ones that are required, yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, next is item H, which is policy 3300, gender inclusive schools. And as we were talking about this in study session, there's a question that came up about some of the language that maybe we want to consider removing. And so do we have a motion to send this back to policy committee?
I move that we table policy 3300, gender inclusive schools, until the policy committee is ready to bring it back.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Board Member McCabe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Next is item I, consideration to approve policy 3010, school eligibility and admissions requirements. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve policy 3010, school eligibility and admissions requirements as discussed in study session.
Motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. We're almost there. Item J, consideration to approve policy 1001, board legal status, which we just talked about. Any motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 1001, board legal status as discussed in open board meetings tonight.
Motion made by Vice President Hales. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Any discussion? All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next is item K, consideration to approve policy 1005, board powers and duties. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 1005, board powers and duties as discussed in study session. Oh, excuse me, as discussed in business meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. A motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second was that Board
That
Member
was me.
Harrison? Oh, Hall. Okay. Second by Board Member Hall. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Consideration to approve the 1100 election, policy 1100 election and board elections and redistricting. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 1100, board elections and redistricting, as discussed in our business meeting tonight.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And our last item on our business,
Jennifer, really quick, did we have to do 1008?
well,
Oh,
it
it's not on here,
did not
so-
make our agenda, so we can't do it. So
Because I know we talked about it, and I just...
we did talk about
So I
it.
just
That-
noticed it wasn't on there.
Thank you for
Very good.
noticing.
Thank
That was
you.
an oversight.
Okay.
But because it was not posted on our agenda, we cannot vote on it tonight, so we can vote on it in September.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. There were so many numbers that we lost track of that one. Okay. Item M, consideration to approve policy 1110, student board members. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve revised policy 1110, student board members as discussed in business meeting.
Motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor with aye? Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And I just want to say, wow, thank you to the policy committee. Even with summer, look at all the work that our policy committee did, and it's just beginning. So thank you to everyone who worked so hard on that, not only our board members and Wendy and Devin, but so many other district personnel as well that help with that. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Motion made by Board Member Hall, and we are adjourned. And our next meeting is the second Tuesday of September.